last year's plan, the plan, that last 3-year plan that we're finishing. And Dr. Dennis requested that we talk no less than 2 hours.
I think you may have misheard.
This spring we will finish our last 3-year plan, and I just want to briefly go over some highlights for you. And you'll hear these terms that we say, and you'll hear them repeated when we talk about the next 3-year plans, because basically what we're doing is status quo. Due to lack of funding, we don't have any great exciting things that we're going to be doing because there's not funds to do new stuff. But some of the highlights from the last 3 years is we implemented a new filtering system, and that allowed us a lot more granularity and a lot more controls here with our staff for filtering, and that's proved to be quite beneficial. We moved Microsoft Outlook to the cloud to give our end users more storage, and also give for documents, and then more storage on their email boxes. Probably the big one that you've heard the most about, and the public's heard the most about, is the one-to-one iPad initiative that we implemented at the high school. We did some virtualization in the back, where we took great big server and chopped it up into mini servers. It's more efficient for us, for our staff. It's easier for us to maintain. We could spin a server up in 30 minutes, where in the past it was 2 weeks to get a server in, or a day or 2 to install it, and now we can do that for a test site in 30 minutes. At the high school, we implemented a tech team, which I think, what was the I team?
I teach team.
I teach team. And that's what really moved the one-to-one implementation, in our opinion, forward with staff development. And it's a team of teachers that kind of stood out up there, and so they're teaching their peers now, and that's really what we think is the key up there. We implemented SIF, Schools Interoperability Framework, with some of our applications, and I'll talk about that in the tech plan. We did a wireless phase 1, which we upgraded the wireless infrastructure at Bernadine Sitz, Charles Stones, and Kenneth Finnersham. We increased our hard disk space in the back. Another big one that we did is with the iPads, we moved from 200 megabit bandwidth to the internet to 250 all the way up to 1 gig. And then we added the laptop rotation, which is something we hadn't had in the past. Our next tech plan is a little different than we've ever had in the past. For E-rate, we're not required to have a tech plan, although we do, obviously, and the state is requesting one, and we would like to do one for you, and that gives us our plan for what we're going to do in the future. Our tech steering committee is responsible for the tech plan, and it's made up of central administrators, principals, teachers, and tech staff.
I brought the wrong glasses, and I
Or
can't
no
see.
glasses.
So I'm gonna be tethered here for a number of reasons, and it's still not big enough. I don't know if I can find someone to help me with this problem I have or not.
Do you want these?
We've tried to outline our vision for the future of technology, and we're going to focus on 8 aspects of that. We're going to look at the infrastructure, not very glamorous, but without it, nothing else is going to work. Communication, that's the board goal, that's one of our goals, and we'll talk about different ways we're going to address that. Training, we have systems that people have to know how to use and equipment that people have to know how to use. Support, not just in terms of coming to you when you're having a problem with a piece of software, but all the hardware, the servers, the wiring. Policies, we're going to be looking at some policies to make sure we have consistency and that they're aligned. The budget is pretty paramount, so that we have to do what is allowed within that budget constraint. Our systems, those are ever-changing. And in the tools that we use, and that's a little bit more of the glamorous part, but the way we get not just instruction delivered, but for our people in offices and how they have to work.
So first is the infrastructure. That's the backbone. That's our wireless network, our LAN, our WAN, the internet bandwidth, and our computers. The WAN, the LAN. I mentioned just a second ago that we have already increased our internet bandwidth to 1 gig. This year we signed a 10-year agreement for bulk fiber with cross communication, and that gives us the ability now to increase the bandwidth to our buildings. Right now most of our buildings are set at 1 gig. As we increase the wireless access in those buildings, we will also increase the the bandwidth from that school to us to up to 10 gig or beyond should the need arise. This gives us a lot more flexibility for us to determine what the speed needs to be. Wireless access, this is a big one. We recognize, and you will see the numbers that are kind of growing rapidly for iPads in our district, that wireless devices are being used heavily in Garden City. In order to get prepared for that, last year we spent some dollars to upgrade the 3 buildings I mentioned before. This summer we'll spend some dollars to upgrade Georgia Matthews Elementary, Buffalo Jones, Victor Annalis, and the Freshman Academy at the high school. And you may say, why would you ever have to update Garden City High School? With E-rate, which we take advantage of, we get to spend, the amount of money we spend, we get reimbursed up to 80%. So with the number of kids at the high school, that's very advantageous to us to use the high school as one of our spots for upgrading. So we can take, what we're going to do then is take all the wireless access points that are at the high school freshman academy and move them to Georgia Matthews, Victor Annalis, and Hillis Good. Buffalo Jones, because of the numbers and the way it works out, will purchase new there. We'll also purchase switches for all those buildings to upgrade those speeds, and then we'll upgrade the link between the 2 buildings. The next thing we're going to look at is voice over IP, our telephone system. Our current system is about 7 years old, and we can no longer get support. We can't upgrade it. We can't call to get help. It's just kind of running back there on its own, and we must do something with that system. We're heavily reliant on telephones, so we will look at that in the next 3 years. Disaster recovery, this is new for us. We are purchasing a second backup system that we will place over at Garden City High School in the server room over there. Should this building, something happen to this building, whether it be fire, tornado, or the device here that we use to back up should fail, there is a window of data that we potentially could lose. So even that small window, when you think about Garden City High School, the number of kids who call in, maybe on the first hour of the day for attendance, we want to minimize the amount of rework that our staff has to do. So we're going to place a second device over there, and I believe, and I could maybe make these numbers up, that that building or that area is made to withstand F5 tornadoes. So we think that's pretty secure. So it'll kind of back up simultaneously, and we'll always have a failover at that point. Server upgrades versus virtualization. We consistently and constantly look at a better use of our dollars for our servers, and virtualization is one of them. Almost all of our servers are now virtualized, and those that are not, we will work to do that in the next 3 years as well. Fault tolerance, due to where we are located out here in the middle of Southwest Kansas, we have to pay close attention to fault tolerance, because should we have one single point of failure and something does go down, we will be down for a day or 2. Our best bet is potentially to drive to Wichita to get the part. Worst case scenario, it comes in next day, FedEx. So we work hard for that, and that's the reason, again, why we're having the dual backup systems.
One of the board goals, and certainly one of ours, is effective communication for all district stakeholders. I'm going to look at a couple of things to focus on. One is web hosting, hiring an outside company to host our website that provides many more opportunities to communicate with parents, for parents to get direct information based on their selections for their kids, their schools, their activities and events. It would also allow for collaboration, the collaboration piece for teachers. Every school would have its own website. Every teacher could have their own website. And it would all be consistent throughout. You wouldn't have to learn how to re-navigate each school's site because you went to a different location. And I think it also provides some great opportunities for us to develop some of our own forms that we utilize. Right now, we write our own in-house things like the walkthrough form, the transfer center, survey tools. It all comes bundled in within this. Another piece that's really exciting about this is that there's a web app for it. So you can put the app on your phone, you can select what schools you want to get notifications from, or what schools you want to communicate with, and we would be able to customize more. The next one is live streaming. We've talked a lot about that in the past. Things are really gearing up. Buffalo Broadcasting is now streaming live events, games and activities. At graduation, we're using a service called the Cube. It does live, but it also archives it so you can see it. We would like to expand that. These kids have the tools now to go out in the district, and we could really reach more stakeholders with these live streamed events if we push that. And that's another one of those things, we have it in place, $0. We just need to get it pushed out, board meetings included. Homeschool connection, this is in direct reference to Workgoal 4.3. We want to expand communication from the home and the school with automated services. We do some of that. We've got Skyward. People go in all the time to see their kids' grades. We do have online meal pay, but it's not all housed within one place. We'd like to get that put over. We're looking at things like a scheduling service for parent-teacher conferences. So that as a parent, I could go in, I could select every school and every child I have, and it could build a schedule. We'd like to work with the business office. We're going to explore some options for taking enrollment fees online. Transportation stuff would be out online. Centralized enrollment. Wouldn't it be great if we could enroll our kids online? Cut down on all the papers. I think there's, what, eight pieces of paper now that people have to fill out when they come to enroll their kids. And that would be a way to streamline that process as well.
Can I interrupt for just
You bet.
one sec? On the bringing in the meal pay into under one thing, what would be great is if teachers or adults who are also paying for meal pay can do it at the same time as they're paying for their kids. I don't know if that's ever been something thought of.
As a staff, the
Like
teacher would like to
teacher
pay
could go
for
in
children
and-
in the room.
Yeah, because I would pay for my kids, but when my husband was working here, he had to go and write a check because I couldn't do it online.
Because it was just the kids.
The system right now is set up just for kids, but we'll certainly look and see if there's a way we can get those as pairs. Right now, our kids are the pairs, so to speak. So yes, we'll certainly look at that. I don't know
Just
if the
something to think
capability's
about
there.
when you're working on it, sorry.
And
No.
since we're talking about suggestions, with healthcare, to do something with the doctor's office, the pediatrician's office, and the counselors, and to let, get the kids' hands off of that correspondence that goes back and forth, and for timeliness, I think that would be very beneficial, through that piece.
I think what you're looking at is our vision a little further down the road,
Yeah.
because we've got to bring lots of systems in. But the
Sure.
more we can start making it that one-stop shop,
Yeah.
I think the more advantageous it's going to be. I got to enroll my kids, I got to do online enrollment last year, pay by fees. We just did it at the high school. I didn't have to leave my house. I just put it all in. It was so convenient and so nice. So those are the kinds of things that we really are going to look at. The next aspect that we're going to talk about is training. We have to support all of our users. That includes our technology staff, administrators, classified, teachers, and students. We're going to look at some different modalities to kind of move that forward. One is that we're really thinking about as an online training resource. It kind of also goes back to that web hosting piece. If we could put all of those resources in an easy to find, easy to use spot for our teachers and personalize it for the systems that they use. We have so many systems out there that it's hard to develop a training that will accommodate everybody. And if we break them up into snippets, we think it'll work better. And then it's kind of on your own time at your leisure. The other thing, we are a Microsoft IT Academy that provides a premier academy. Provides curriculum for our teachers and students. It's going to provide some opportunities for our technology staff to gain some more certifications as well. In terms of staff development, we talk about the fun stuff coming up, the tools. It's okay to bring all of that in, but you have to teach people how to use that, and it has to be done seamlessly. And as you start putting those pieces in, to make it seamless in the front requires more work in the backside. So we have to accomplish that and then go out and give those trainings. I did, one of the new things we rolled out, I think Roxy's going to talk about, was OneDrive, my Office 365. I went to, I think, almost every school and did that training because it was so imperative. As we take some things away, we give them a new tool, but they gotta learn how to use it. And that's not gonna stop. That's just gonna be ongoing every time we bring in a new system. I think the other big thing, and I mentioned it, we have some great folks in technology, and they have great skills, but it is ever changing. And we'll throw out the next thing. Our staff needs to be trained on those things as well. It's not just inherent that they automatically know it because it's a piece of technology. So we want to really accommodate those folks and their needs as well. In support, and this ties in a little bit with that training piece, instructional technology is that piece that, as an instructional technology, we want to focus on helping teachers deliver effective instruction, which in turn will help with student achievement. We also want to work to make sure our kids get 21st century skills, have access, equitable access to the kinds of things that we have out in our buildings. So we, as an instructional technologist, we go out and research new tools, what works. We talk with other school districts. We try to do little pilots. I'll find a teacher at the high school that has a little niche and she can test something, and then we can roll those things out. When you have over 600 certified staff, and they're at varying levels, and they have different kinds of tools, it's a challenge, but it's something that is a priority for us.
The next item is equipment maintenance and replacement. Garden City Public Schools has a long-standing tradition of standardization. We buy Lenovo desktops, laptops. We used to buy Hewlett-Packard printers, now we buy Dell, and there's a reason for that. A couple of things. One, we don't have a great number of staff back there to be able to support a myriad of platforms. Even though you might think a PC is a PC is a PC, it's not really, it really is not. Also, by standardizing on a couple of things like Lenovo and Dell, our tech staff can become warranty certified. So those companies actually pay our staff or the school district to fix items that are under warranty. So each year, and also, pardon me, we added iPads to that niche as well. So each year we buy approximately 350 computers, and this is just out of our budget, and 90 laptops, and about 650 iPads. Laptops and desktops, when we purchase these, we take out some older ones, 7-year, 6-year, we take them out of rotation. Okay, those are typically stripped, imaged into just the operating system, and we sell them. This year we tried something kind of unique. We took laptops that were purchased in 2007 that really, yes, they're working, but they're Windows XP, they're so slow, they won't run Office, the newest version, so they're not really usable, even though you can power them on. The tech guys determined that we could put on a very low-level Windows XP and put Kite, the district's or the state's assessment piece, and that's all they're used for. There's no login, which is one of the things we've been hearing complaints about. It takes a while for the kid to authenticate. Maybe he's forgotten his password. That adds a little bit of frustration to him right before he sits down to take the ever-important state assessment. So we've taken all that out. They fire these up. It takes less than a minute. They're ready to go. With that, then all the other laptops that we have out there can now be used for other things. So I think in the spring, laptop use is diminished because we have to have those devices for state assessments. So now with using older technologies to do that, we have a reuse for them. And also we piloted this year iPads at Victor and Alice for assessments. That worked pretty well, with the exception of there was some, I think, math.
There's one part of the math, the performance, Darren, is that correct?
That
They
could not
can't be
be
done
used.
on an iPad.
But we will continue to look at that as well. Our IT staff supports about 9,000 users, 6,000 computers, and when this was developed, 3,000 iPads, and since then there are now, by fall of next year, we'll have 4,000 iPads. So it's quickly catching up the iPad world to our PC world. Our staff is kind of divided up into 3 levels of support. The sysops in every building are the first level of defense, so if somebody has trouble with something, we ask that they go to the sysop. They help it with what they can. If they cannot assist them, so that they put it up to 2nd level support, which is our staff housed here at the ESC. We have 5 software support people who are kind of specialize in their own applications, and then we have 2 hardware techs. And then we also have 2 managers, a network manager and a hardware manager, and then Lady, our coordinator, and Casey Wise, our instructional technologist. One of the things we're going to be looking at is we would like some type of application for people to request help. We get stopped, we get emailed, we get sticky notes left on our desks, we get people hovering for assistance, and we're losing track. We have so many things to try to maintain, and sometimes things fall through the crack. When you receive 300 emails a day, you're going to miss something. So we want some type of a system that the end user can enter their support request in. It will route it to the appropriate person. We can define some levels of how quickly we expect our tech staff to respond. And also then gives us some harder data to look at down the road. Should we get cut again? Where do we need to move staff, or where could we stand to maybe cut some time from a person's day and move it over here for some new technology? It also gives us some data for staff development. The budget. This year we were cut, well, next year we will be cut 2% from this year, which amounts to about $58,000. When I was asked, what are you going to cut? It's very simplistic. We have to cut new projects. We are basically the status quo. As you hear us speak tonight, you will say, wow, you're buying this, you're buying that. We are. That is strictly status quo. Nothing new. So in my mind, we're going to start falling behind. The other things on our tech plan that we're looking at is what do we currently have in place that will not cost us any dollars. It will cost manpower to do, but it won't cost us dollars out of the budget to implement. And those are the items we're talking about when we talk about communication and some of the tools that we're going to talk about. So our budget, kind of keeping to the same theme of the areas that we are talking about, our communication is $24,000. That is if we have some dollars that for web hosting and for the web. The infrastructure, $94,000. That's like the WAN and the LAN. Policy, $0. It doesn't cost us dollars to rewrite the policies. Our support, which is our main part of it, is $1.9 million. That's our staff, and that's our computer and iPad rotation. Systems, $50,000. Kind of earmark that for Microsoft. Tools, $663,000. We also put some dollars in iPads there because they kind of cross over. Training, $20,000. Years ago, I think we had $50,000, $60,000 in this budget. We cut it down to $20,000, which is when you think about technology, that's a pretty low amount. And so our total budget is $2.8 million.
The tools is the fun part. We are trying to transform classrooms. We want 21st century learning happening. We also want to talk about physical securities of the buildings, new tools and the current tools. One of the things that we're going to make a real considered effort on is wireless projection from the iPad. Now, I did say I didn't have my glasses, but I'm tethered to this iPad. I cannot get out and walk around, and that's okay for a board meeting, but if you're a teacher in a classroom, proximity is everything. So we need to be out with kiddos, and the current wired solution does not accommodate that. So we're going to look at some solutions for that. There are different scenarios based on what kind of an iPad, what kind of projector, what kind of cables, what kind of environment we're in. So there's not a one-size-fits-all solution. We started piloting a couple of things. We're going to move forward with that. iPad carts, one of the things is that equitable distribution. Now we have iPads at the high school, and now we have them at the middle schools. We piloted 5 schools this last school year, and we put iPad carts in those 5 schools and gave teachers iPads. Now we're going to move forward and we're going to put those iPad carts into the remaining 9 schools. And we got the iPads from the graduating seniors. We sold some to the seniors. That money was used to buy the carts that are going into the schools, the iPad carts. You have to have a cart for that. And then we're taking the others and we're putting them in carts for student use. Physical security, we're going to look at more of the electric door locks, the need for more security cameras and where those are going to be needed. Monitors is something that we haven't purchased for about 7 years, which means we've got a lot of those big old CRT monitors sitting around. We didn't purchase them because it was an effort to save money. Those monitors were still working. Now we're gonna look at buying those. We buy one for every 2 computers that we're purchasing this year. They take less energy. And in many classrooms, real estate is hard to come by. And those big CRT monitors take up a lot of room. So those flat panel monitors will help just on that piece as well. 3D printing is something that we want to look towards. One of those things that we've had our eye on. And our focus is really the science, the elementary science classrooms, and that would really address some of the STEM things. Again, that's when we look at budget and working with the curriculum. As you'll notice, we don't have lots of new tools because tools are expensive, but we will continue with projectors and Elmos and smart boards and laptops. But these are some things that we're going to focus on in this plan. On the policies, the Tech Steering Committee will look at the acceptable use policy that we have all users of any of our equipment sign. Right now, when we hire staff, they sign ADP, they watch a video, and it's all done paper pencil, and then that has to be scanned and put with their stuff. We're looking at ways to perhaps streamline that process as well. Next year, it's already started. Returning students to the high school, it is all electronically done. They have to log in, they have to digitally sign it, their parents have to digitally sign it, and there is no paper involved. That is only for returning students. The freshmen, incoming freshmen, will still have, when they get their iPads, they will have a face-to-face, one-on-one talk. They will still sign digitally. They can't sign it until they get their iPad. So that will be at the beginning of next school year. And then the other thing that we're going to look at is making maybe some enhancements and edits to the acceptable use policy. The foundation of that policy is still very relevant, but there's been a lot of changes since that was first written. That would be a tech steering committee work in the following years. The other thing that we'll continue to look at is BYOD, bring your own device. It sounds very simple, just, let everybody bring their stuff. It is, in fact, very difficult to achieve. And the reason is you have to have systems in place to get the people on our networks. And, if you bring in your laptop, how can I be sure you don't have a virus on it, bring down the whole network? And you bring in a Surface Pro, I don't even know how to hook into the network because I've never used a Surface Pro. So it becomes layers of things you have to consider, and I think, and we've talked about this, I think it would take an entire another staff person, and I went back and read notes, and I think about $300,000. We're upgrading everything just for our stuff to accommodate what we have. So with those kind of constraints, it's going to be, we'll continue to look, and things change, it's very fluid, but right now, it's just looking at it, I think.
Okay, if I could, I went to a seminar too where somebody from Blue Valley discussed one of their high schools was set up as a BYOD, and as she was walking around, no one brought their device. So I don't know how many people would actually use it as well. I mean, if we make that kind of investment, I think we would need to know, are people really going to do it? So.
Yeah, because if you take your own device, you're responsible for it. And if someone steals it, what's the school going to say? So I think there's a lot of layers that we need to consider with that. Did you? Cloud computing is something I've alluded to. We went around to every school and did trainings on Office 365 and OneDrive, and they're kind of two different things. OneDrive is this cloud storage, and people had lots of questions about that. It just means it's not kept here. It's just kept on Microsoft server. But there's no limit. Oh, that's not true. There is a limit. 25 gigs of storage available for each of our users. We don't let people get 25 gigs of storage here because we fill up all our servers. They'd be unusable. And this is a piece that comes with all of our Microsoft licensing. So adding this was labor and work at no cost to us. And then Microsoft or Office 365 allows all of our users to download the Office suite on 5 different devices, 5 different machines, and 5 different mobile devices, so literally a total of 10. And we're going to roll this out to our students at the high school next year. It's our first step. That means those students have access to that as well on their home machines, that data or that storage, and the ability to share files amongst teachers and staff. We're still working on some things. It also allows us, and you may talk about this later, we had, for our students at the high school, we had Gmail. And Gmail worked great for the kids, but it's very cumbersome to set it all up. That means somebody has to hand create all of those accounts. And that is not as fun as it might sound. And then when they leave, you have to take them all away because we only get X number of accounts. This will seamlessly integrate with some of our systems now. So the kids will just be there and nobody has to enter them. And it provides some real benefits for our kids.
SIF, Schools Interoperability Framework. We are a huge user of this. This was probably big in the 90s. And there was some glitches with it in the beginning, and we kind of held off. And then Debbie Zimmerman has taken this and just flown. When a student enrolls down here at centralized enrollment, and we actually enter their demographics, the student then pops up in transportation, VersaTrans software, in Follett, the library software, and in OneSource, the nutrition software. So nobody has to sit down and re-enter that kid in those 3 systems. Then this year, Debbie put it also into our Active Directory, so that when the student is enrolled, his username and password is created, and we don't have to do that step. So she is continually looking at items for that. What she would like to move to next is when a staff member is hired, then that process starts, and that staff member's information travels to the following systems as well. Student data storage.
That's referring to eBackpack. We use that at the high school. When you're using iPads, you have to have a workflow. eBackpack provides it. It ties in with Skyward, so the kids are automatically in classes. The teachers see their kids. Assignments are sent straight to the kids they need them to be sent to. We did have it last year for all staff members. We also provided it for all students at the middle schools. Unfortunately, because this is one place we cut in the budget, the first thing is E-rate will no longer pay for this. And so that cost is ours to bear. We did give schools the choice. Do you want to continue using eBackpack? We had one middle school say yes they would, and they're going to pay their portion of it. The hope is that OneDrive will fill the need that the staff members had for that cloud storage piece. But it will continue to be used at the high school in the one-to-one initiative. Virtual collaboration. This is one of those things that's not a cost, but we want to explore some more ways to get collaboration outside these 4 walls for kids. Maybe they want to Skype in with an author in Maryland or talk to a Holocaust survivor. We don't have those kinds of opportunities in Garden City, and there's a world out there. We've not done much of that before. There were always some barricades. I think we've knocked down the barricades. We're going to allow for more of those kinds of opportunities. And it's not just about students and learning. Then maybe it's we want to get together, but we all can't get together, so we all meet via a Zoom app. So we're going to explore those things at no cost to us. And online assessments, this is not the state assessments. This is just assessments in the classroom. We can start delivering those to kids through Skyward, that has an online assessment piece. But in classrooms, just really quick check for understanding. We know it's best if teachers can get an idea of the understanding that's going on and fix it before we move on. So we have a lot of tools we want to roll out that we've been using at some of the grade levels as we move that pilot down into the other grade levels.
Technology has about a $10 million equipment inventory. A couple years ago, Steve purchased WASP inventory system, and every item that we purchase gets a little green tag, and then it's entered into our system. Then each spring, here we just finished, our SysOps are asked to go throughout the buildings and audit. That has become increasingly more difficult as the more and more mobile devices we have. And the system goes into the room, the projector's there, the smart board's there, the desktop's there, but the laptop's gone and the iPad's gone. Well, they're using it, they have it with them. So what you see is a picture here of two young men who volunteered to tag our 650 new iPads. So that's currently what they're doing is scanning in those asset tags. With over 6,000 Windows machines, software updates can get kind of cumbersome for our staff. So we continue to look at applications that we can use to push out those updates. And one of them that we looked at is called Night. And its intention is to take advantage of when the computer's on and in a downtime state. So some of your iPads now have been sitting there idle, they're probably gone to sleep. That's the time when we want to wake them up and we want to push the updates, not when you're in there intensively working, but when it's quiet. The next item is data management. We have talked for years about some type of a data warehouse, some application to give our teachers so when they log in, they can see all the assessment data and they can see how their kids are doing. We continue to look for products. The biggest hurdle, one of the biggest hurdles is the really good products cost a lot of money and we don't have it. So we're partnering with a little bit of a newcomer to the data warehouse world when it comes to schools. They are also a partner of Skyward, so it works hand in hand with Skyward. So we're beta testing that, and we get to provide feedback to them once a week. So hopefully we can come up with some application to give our teachers. Microsoft, Lane talked a lot about this, so I don't think I need to go into that anymore. Home use, she also mentioned this. With the Microsoft Office licensing, as she told you, our staff can our staff and students can load Office applications on their personal devices. Also, Dell offers us, we as employees, some type of discount. So our hope is to continue to look for things to help pass some savings on to our staff members. And then last, we have Skyward. In 2007, we made a major commitment to Skyward. Our finances on there, our human resources, and our student. A lot of the things that we're looking to implement at no cost are within Skyward. KJ is looking at using credit cards more in the district. So there's some credit card modules already written in Skyward that we are not taking advantage of. That's one item. There's an item for online reimbursement. So should someone go on a trip and they get their meals reimbursed, that they could put it in online and we can get rid of this paper form. Just looking at further implementing modules within. I guess in conclusion, a couple of things that we're really working hard at is increasing our infrastructure for wireless. As you can see, our number has grown huge of the number of iPads. If we have 6,000 desktops and we've been doing that for 25 years, we've been doing iPads for 4, and we already have 4,000. They wanted one of the most heartfelt discussions we had in our tech steering committee when we talked about the priority was the use of iPads. And we had some elementary people in there that were adamant they wanted it in their buildings. We polled obviously our tech steering committee, we polled SAC, cabinet members, tell us what you need, tell us what we can do for you. And that's where we came up with the list to create the what ifs, or our next 3-year tech plan. Some things that didn't make it, one-to-one iPads at the middle school. The cost was just too much. Realistically, we'll never be able to do that. Purchase new like we do now. Someday, if these things last long enough, we'll have more and more purchases from schools. We may be able to have an iPad in any kid's hands, but not like we do at the high school, not ready yet. So I guess with that, that's it. Sorry, Darren.
Was it just at 2 minutes right at?
Perfect.
Do you have any questions for us?
I just had a question. I'm not really sure if this would be part of it, but is there a way to track savings as a result of increased technology? Or is it just all additional expense? Because it seems like it does replace a lot of things that we could have spent money on in the past.
The only thing that I conscientiously sat down and tracked for the dollar amount was paper saved at the high school using the backpack, which is about $1,800 a week. but other than that,
One of the things you could think about, if you talk about the SIF module, that when the kid is entered and their data goes to 3 different systems, with the cuts that the district has endured over the last several years, we have lost staff members. So one of the things is, it's hard to put a dollar amount to it, but that staff member, we have saved them some time. Those that are still left behind, if you will, we've saved them some time, but to actually equate it into dollars, other than the paper, I don't know that we ever have.
But could we track efficiencies then? Maybe
productivity, efficiency.
would be more like what we're experiencing, because I think, as we want to add more and more technology in the hands of students and our staff, it's really a selling point to show how much more efficient we are.
Great, we'll look into that.
As high demand as the iPads are in middle school and grade schools, and this ability that we have as we go through this initiative to pass down, hand-me-downs, if you will, technology, that has to come with a little bit of cost. I mean, not to get the iPad cart before the teacher, but the teacher has, or somebody has to take on the role of shepherding that card and software they use. And so, I mean, it's sort of a point following on Gene's point here is that we've got some momentum and we've got some implementation and initiative. We're able to pass that on down. Yet that comes with a cost, personnel cost, that is stretching existing staff thin.
I think the 2 areas that are going to take the brunt of that are obviously our instructional technologists, Laney and Casey, and our sysops. It's just one more thing that we are adding on top of our sysops. The time it takes, and even though we're in a cart model, which is simpler than the one-to-one, there is still time involved. A new app needs to be installed, an app needs to be taken off, updates need to be put on. It will fall on our sysops.
And then even in the classroom or the library or wherever this is happening, you still have to have that supervision with kids to make sure they're on task, so to speak, with that electronic device, unless you've got that in.
Well, I think I think we're more geared toward that because we've had laptops for so long. Because the supervision, in my opinion and in my experience, doesn't change. And I actually think it's easier to see what kids are doing on an iPad because in a laptop, they hide behind it. And it's a little more difficult. So I think that, from what I've seen with teachers, that's not so much of a concern. I think they're doing well. I think the other thing is, we go out and we're training our sysops on how to manage the iPads in the classroom, or iPads in their buildings. It's not a 5-minute training. It's ongoing through the year. And it doesn't, they do a great job because it got thrust upon them, and they're already very busy. But they also have had, they've taken this on because they know it's what's good for kids, and they have done a fabulous job. But it's continual, it's ongoing.
One of the things, too, with the senior iPads that were not purchased, we took some and put them in carts, and then the rest on a percentage basis, sent them out to teachers. So Laney's already given those to the teachers that will receive them next year unless the building bought additional ones. So they'll have them over the summer. And then we'll come up with a staff development program for the teachers as well to start using them.
Are some of the buildings able with their budgets to buy additional iPads then?
Yes. Yes.
Any other questions?
Just one comment, and we talked just a little bit about it right now, but selling the iPad to the graduating seniors, I really wish we wouldn't do that. I wish we'd keep them. I mean, every presentation I hear, in the schools, yeah, let us have iPads, but then we sell them to the students, and we're only selling 100 of them. But there's 100 that could be in a grade school very easily.
The reason we selected 100, and there's pros and cons. Laney and I have different viewpoints of that as well. But the reason we selected selected 100 is that gave us the amount of dollars we needed to buy the carts. Otherwise, we have no ability to buy the carts.
I could put the
So-
iPads in the classroom, but I had no place, I could put the iPads in school, but I had no place to put them.
So now that you bought the cart, you won't need to sell anymore?
I wouldn't say that, because if we want to add a second cart, we may have enough to add 30 more to a few buildings, we still need the cart.
Okay.
But
Well, the other part of the 100 is that, you know, kids are saying, you know, especially kids that graduated early, by the time they get the notice, the 100 names are already, I mean, they don't even have a chance.
Well, we actually put some back for all the early grads, and I talked with almost all of them, and I don't know of an early grad that wanted to buy one that didn't get to, and I may be wrong, but we went that extra mile for those kiddos
Okay.
to make sure that they were accommodated somehow.
Okay, well, see, I didn't know that. I heard just the opposite, that by the time he got the notice and came and checked, he said they were all gone.
And it may be, when he signed up, it was full, but as we went through the process and names went off the list, I do think.
I'm sure you were fair, don't get me wrong, I'm saying
Yeah,
you
and
were fair.
it's not perfect.
I
They
just-
leave it December, and I put it on the website in March. So I tried to give plenty of notice, and we tried to get the word out, but, you know, and there could be, no one came to me and said, look, I really wanted one. I didn't hear about that, but that's not to say they never.
Well, now I know why you sold the 100, I guess, because I really wish we wouldn't sell the 100. I mean, I'd rather have them in the schools, but I understand. Short of funds, need funds for it all, so, thank you.
But on the flip side, that's one of the things that we talked about when we were going to the one-to-one, is that the kids would get to keep them.
That was a discussion, I don't believe at any point it was decided 100%. We've done something different each year. The first year, we sent them all back, because they were leased. The second year, we let whoever wanted to buy them, and we purchased some and sent the rest back. And then this year, starting this year and throughout, we own them. And so it could depend upon, the decision we'll have to make again, how do we want to handle it.
Flexibility is important to maintain that in our favor because of budget issues. So I think you struck a really good compromise on selling the amount you sold. And I think that hopefully we made the best of the situation. Thank you for your plan. This